Hey, John, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, give us a little background on yourself.
Brian, thanks. Happy New Year, and real pleasure to be on with you. John Sullivan. I am currently regional account manager for a company called Sonatype. We're in the application security space, and kind of going way back, 20 over 25 years in sales, a lot of different roles. I got my start in the wonderful world of radio advertising sales, where
The
they kind of
easy
plop you
stuff.
down. They plop you down at a desk, give you a phone book, probably dating myself with that, and a phone. And that was my account list, and hammered away at the phone, setting appointment. I mean, you own the full sales cycle, from first call to close and then onward. So from there, I moved into television and uh, worked at Comcast for a long time in television ad sales. So I felt like I moved up a little bit in the advertising space. So I sold there for 7 years and then led the team. I moved into management for 7 years. And then from there, a lot of that was as I got into year 4, 5, 6, 7, it felt like I was solving the same problems, answering the same questions. And I was wondering if the sales, Comcast was great because they really focused a lot on coaching and sales management training. And I thought, can I port these skills over to another industry? And shout out to one of my contacts, Patrick Quigley, who recruited me out of Comcast to jump into manufacturing. And I scaled up a sales team, and it was fantastic because a lot of what I had learned in sales leadership did port over to manufacturing into another industry. And I ran that, helped scale up that sales team for a small manufacturer, and then went and was a director of sales for a CNC machine company. And then COVID hit, and as we were just joking a little bit, they called me back to the front line. So now I'm a frontline contributor again.
Yeah.
So everything that I was, training salespeople on and whatnot, now I'm putting it into use myself, and
And now
trying to
you're in
hit that nut.
software.
Yes, now I'm in software, enterprise software sales. Yeah.
How are you finding that compared to the others?
Well, I guess with everything, it's, you try to learn the product, but it is interesting being kind of in a sales leadership role, and then, more of a leadership role within a small company. I tend to lean more towards those business discussions, and I like to go up in the food chain of an organization. Kind of the high end here is the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer. Like, I like to talk big concepts and say, okay, what is the business impact of X? How do you look to find Y to solve X? And that is really, those are the big discussions that I like to have. Fortunately, selling now is very much a team sport, and that we have great sales engineers. So if we do have some developers on the call, they are there riding shotgun with me to help me answer those technical questions for sure.
And
Yeah.
I got to imagine that there's more steps.
Oh yeah, a lot of steps. So many steps. I had a sales manager tell me once when I was early in my career, and I carried it forward with me and I used it all along. And he always said, "What's the next sale?" Because it really is. And and when you break it down and when you really think about that question, I go, what is the next sale? Well, the next sale might be a meeting. The next sale might be to prove the value of your product or solution. So people say, when are you going to close it? You have to break that big sale into pieces and say, okay, what is the next thing I have to do? And then you just go to and then the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then at the end, if you're doing it right, you'll find the pot of gold at the end.
But it's also not falling into those traps of not having a next step
Yeah.
because the client might not know what to do next.
True.
And they
So
say,
typically,
send me a proposal.
what I found is typically we do this next. Um, tell me about that, or yeah, how do you feel about that? So sometimes, and again, it is, I used to tell this, when I was running the sales team, and again, all of these skills kind of help as you move along, but it, we can have our process, but they have their process, and sometimes it's, I remember sitting with a customer, and we were down in, I think we're in Tampa, Florida, and they were going to make a purchase, and they said, well, this has 15 signatures to get. We have 3, we have 12 more to go. 4 of them are in New Jersey. uh, so we have to ship this rec request up to New Jersey, and I don't know when we're going to get that back. It really gave me big insight into customers buying their own terms and their own timeline.
Well, also being a people leader, you get to look at deals from a different perspective
Yeah.
without having that tight emotional connection to it, and
Yeah.
where you're not in the battlefield, you're out looking kind of at the battlefield,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can kind of see the terrain clearer.
Yeah. One thing that I've learned, when I was a late 20 something, early 30 something seller to now, is that, I can't want it more than my customer. And that is, it's, I think the secret to great salespeople, they have to have discipline. They really do. I mean, you have to be more like a reporter and be a little skeptical and say, I don't really know if there's a fit here. I don't know, maybe you call it out or something like that, but
Well,
you have to be honest.
you do. Otherwise, you fall into their enthusiasm trap
Yeah.
where,
Happy years, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
because they want it, they need it.
Sure.
The company can afford it. They can't see why the company wouldn't do it.
Hmm.
But then you have that Tampa Gauntlet that you described earlier.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
And
So it
those
is.
people, they have their agenda.
Yeah. And it is those conversations that are happening when you're not in the room, that really, can make or break your deal, and where it goes, and things when they lag and all of that. So it is, yeah, the sale now is very complicated. I think our average sales cycle is at least 6 months. So it is, the challenge that I have is really keeping up the momentum of a sale, especially now since we just came out of the holidays. Trying to get everybody refreshed. Uh, I find it hard, if you meet on a Thursday and then you meet again on a Wednesday, you have to like completely re-educate them on where you are.
Oh, this time of year is just crazy.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Because everyone goes from, crazy busy off to coming back crazy busy in a whole different direction.
yep, yep. But it is, also this time of year is good because you kind of set out on the roadmap. Maybe
You have
it's a
something to talk
fresh step.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what are the new objectives for the year? Where is that going? Oh, it's completely, you took a hard right turn from where we were just 3 weeks ago. Okay, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
And what do you think makes a great rep? I'm sure you've had both vantage points of leading, doing,
Hmm.
teaching.
Hmm. I think it's a few things. I think just first, do they have good sales DNA? I mean, are they likable people? Because I listen to your podcast and watch your videos on LinkedIn. They're excellent, by the way. It is, boy, you got to build that relationship and trust, and it's just a lot easier with people that are likable. Uh, you can get a little bit more information. They feel at ease. They trust you more. So you do have to be likable. You do have to have those people skills. I think that makes people successful. I think also in a space, I talked about it earlier, the discipline of knowing when you have something there and when you don't, but then also the self discipline to build the plan, stay on the plan, course correct if you need to. But then I think staying put, um, either at a company that has a strong position, you just see, sales is like an annuity. I mean, the more you spend at a company or in a space, then you build on it. You build on the success. And I see it now with some folks. There's a lot of jumping going on in sales. Hang tight, hang tight. I know maybe it's a little rough, but hang tight.
Well, the jumping, because you don't get enough traction in that industry, because you do have to have kind of a long view. Are you picking the right industries, the right network? So it does
Right,
get easier every year instead of harder.
right. Yeah,
Now
I
you picked
agree.
a couple tough ones.
Yeah, manufacturing was a big shift for me. What was interesting is, the first company was essentially what they call in manufacturing a job shop, which means they have a lot of different customers and they do different parts for different customers. So you have a very broad customer base, but there's also a lot of competition. So you really have to find the niche. And what a great owner we had. I mean, he was a trained, educated mechanical engineer, but had fantastic sales DNA, and he hired a CFO that was similar great, just great sales mind. I learned so much from that executive team just in my year and a half there. And then switching into CNC, which was, every deal was a six-figure deal, and we were a German company, so it was very interesting to work with a German company and kind of understand that culture and how they go about different things. So those are very, I thought Comcast forecast calls were hard. Forecast calls with a German company, there is no small talk. It is very, so what are you going to do this month? No small talk, get right into it.
But that those exercises are great
Oh, it's fantastic.
because as a rep, you're kind of like, tell them what they want to hear. Let me
Mm,
get back to selling.
yeah,
And you're kind of assuming the details of a deal.
yeah,
But when you have to present other people's deals,
yeah. Well,
oh,
you find out while you're presenting those deals where the gaps are, what we don't know, what we still need to find out, who we aren't talking to that should be in the room or
you know,
at least included in the conversation. I mean, that's what I've found in these bigger deals. Advertising sales was great. You sat down with the owner. It was a very flat organization. Everything was locally owned and operated. That's who you talk to. But now just decisions are made. I mean, it could be 5 people, it could be 15 people in 3 different states and 5 different time zones. I mean, it could be all over the place. And these are big deals, and everyone wants to take a look at it. So it really is important to keep it simple uh, and just make sure that they understand what the value is that you're offering.
well, what do you think the smartest thing you did in your career was?
I I do think it was. I think it was jumping out of local advertising. I still stay in touch with people, but I saw the writing on the wall where you had, you think about it yourself. I mean, just in your day to day, I was selling television for a cable company, and we were selling online, but now there are more people fighting over a smaller piece of the pie. And when you work for big corporations, they expect growth, and it's hard to get that growth, and you have more people nipping at your heels, fighting for smaller dollars or whatnot. So I'm glad that I left and made the switch into manufacturing for a couple of reasons. I was fortunate in that the American economy was good, and manufacturing was great from late 2015 into 2020. That 4 to 5 year stretch was pretty good. I mean, American manufacturing was pumping, and I was walking on the floor of many manufacturers across the country. I mean, I went to Tesla. I saw how a Tesla was made. I went to SpaceX. I thought Google was just the search engine. No, Google actually builds things, and it was fascinating to see. So I was happy that I made that jump, but it really pushed my comfort zone, and it really forced me to get uncomfortable. So when I made the switch into software, while I was a little bit tentative and that it was a brand new industry for me, I just said, but I made the switch from selling TV ads to manufacturing. So I'm going to be patient and I'll get it. But what's interesting is what we sell now, it's all about supply chain. It's all about building better applications. So I can talk those big manufacturing, like you have to make sure that the parts that go into your application are good. And if they're not, you're in trouble. So I talk about those concepts that I took from manufacturing and I just apply them to software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that this the type of advice that you give to the younger people? Let's say they're in their 20s and before they're
Mm.
hopping, what advice would you give them?
I would say, to really push your comfort zone, to be patient, to be disciplined. Kind of what I was talking about earlier is just, hang in there. Sales is a fantastic, fantastic trade. It gives my daughter is looking at schools now. She graduates this year, and I always joke with her because she's so friendly. And I said, "You're just going to be in sales. You're going to be in sales." She goes, "Oh, Dad, I don't want to be in sales." And I said, "All right, let me tell you this: you own your day, you own your calendar, you make a lot of money, you get to travel. When I said by the time you graduate school, we will be traveling again. You get to take people out to dinner, you get to entertain, you get to do all these things." And I said, tell me what's wrong with that. If I were just to take sales out of it and then just describe the job, what do you think about it? Now she's a little bit excited about it. And
Well,
that's what
that's
it
it. You
is.
can contrast it to something else.
Yeah,
Marketing, what you're going to sit in meetings all day. You're going to try and keep track of things that really aren't trackable.
right.
You're going to play business,
Right. Yeah, that's
right?
right.
Sales,
Yeah.
you're doing business. You learn how business is done.
Yes. That's right. Yeah.
And people just have this concept, oh, you're bugging people. Well, that's what other people do. Good
Yep.
salespeople don't bug each other or don't
Right.
bug the client. The
Yeah,
client
that's right.
wants to talk to them.
Yes.
If they don't, there's
Absolutely.
something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. That actually happened twice this week where, because I always like to, I had a couple of leftover appointments that I had set before Christmas, and I just said, "Are we still on for this week?" And they both came back like, "Yes, absolutely, we're ready to go." I'm like, great. I mean, that to me that's the best email I got. I mean, as opposed to your POs coming over on Thursday, but other than that, they're excited to meet with me and they're ready. They're in the zone. They know what we're doing. They know they're prepared for the conversation, and they're ready to go.
Now, sales is a weird career in that there is kind of a lot of this moving up into leadership, back into contributor,
Hmm.
back up to leadership.
Yeah.
How have you felt about it? Because I had done it a couple of times and if you move into leadership, what people aren't reminding you is if you move back, it's very different
Hmm.
because you've got to readjust your mindset. You work for somebody else now.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, when I was a leader, I did it this way. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear, what are you selling?
Which I don't. Well, I do not do that.
Yeah.
I knew what I was doing, um, and I I thought about it and I said, is this what I want to do? Do I want to go back to being a frontline contributor? And I thought, yeah, I need to do that. But so again, back to discipline, back to that self talk. If I'm going to do this, then I need to be 100% engaged in minding my business, what I'm doing. Uh, I do feel that I do add a perspective to my leadership's um, kind of forecasting or whatnot. I do carry that kind of skeptical piece with me when we look at an opportunity and say, look, I know that this has a close date of here, but I still need to shore up conversations with these people, uh, because it follows, our internal process, and when you move it to a different stage, it ups the probability of it. So I kind of add the color behind just the deal to make sure that everybody understands kind of where I think the deal is, because I see that now, and I take that experience from being a sales leader to now being a frontline contributor to say, here are the pieces that I'm missing uh, in order to move this forward. So I'm very honest with myself, and I know where it is.
And how do you develop that likability? Because it doesn't sound like you're the talk about the Red Sox or the Patriots type of guy, or are you?
Um, well, it depends. What's funny is I'm up here in New England, where it's snowing today, and my territory, my patch, as they call it, is New York, New Jersey. So we have a great time talking about the Yankees and the Jets, and so I can do that. But then I can also talk about whatever. It just it's having those conversations about anything, and really just kind of making it fun, especially in the new Zoom world. I have yet to have a face-to-face conversation meeting with anybody yet. Everybody is still working remote, so doing everything over Zoom is a little difficult, but we make the most of it. We joked about some things the other day and just had a great call and just tried to keep it light. Uh, and that's what I try to do.
And one of the things that experience gives you is good judgment skills, where you can look at a deal and kind of sense where it is, what needs to have to get it done.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
when you're in your 20s, you're just glad that there's somebody on the other end of the Zoom, right?
Or you think everything's going to close,
Yeah. Why
uh,
wouldn't it?
or you were afraid to. I think in my 20s and 30s, I'll call it what it is. I was afraid to step out of my comfort zone and say, who makes a decision here? Can we get them involved in the conversation? Uh, in my 20s and 30s, I didn't do that. Today, I do that. I just have, I don't want to say I have zero fear, but I don't. I'm not concerned about it anymore. If they say no, then they say no. One of the things, and it's so funny, it's sales 101 that I just, you kind of do the thing on the top of the head, but the CEO from that manufacturing company, he said, always ask for the sale, always ask for the sale. And I thought, wow. I mean, it was Moses coming down from the mountain. Like, oh yeah. And going back to what my sales manager would say, what's the next sale? So if it's ask for the meeting, ask for the sale, ask for the meeting, ask for permission to get access to that economic buyer, ask for access to do X, ask for the sale. And I take that with me now everywhere.
Because, part of it's comfort, but part of it's confidence.
Yeah.
You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to wonder if you're understanding where it is.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want to know. It's a
Yes.
fair question.
Yeah.
You're not asking for the order, the PO. You're
Right.
asking for the next step,
Yeah, that's right.
right? Who do you
Yeah.
think is going to say yes? Who do you think is going to say no?
Right.
How do we prepare for that?
Yeah. I mean, how to, what, yeah. What do you see as problems here? What do you think are some of the landmines? What do you think? I mean, those are all the conversations that you need to have. And even, sometimes, there are times where I will say on a call, I don't know if this is the right tool for you.
It's a
I
great
never
close
said that when
sometimes,
I was 28 years old. I
right?
never said
You
that.
just say, this is overkill,
Yeah.
right? And they might
Yes.
upsell themselves through it.
Yes.
Or it is overkill and they're going to figure that out in 3 months or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
but they're going to drag you along with them.
And it really sounds funny, but yes, of course, I want the business, but I'm, I truly am looking for customers, not not just a nut to hit
orders.
my, yeah, not just a nut to hit my quarter or my year. I mean, that's all well and good, but I really want that customer that's going to say that, that's going to deliver that success story, that's really going to help other people make that decision. I mean, that's really what I want.
Right.
Because I believe that our product will do that. And I hope that I gain customers in my time here.
Cool. Hey, John, I
Yeah.
appreciate your time today. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
Well, LinkedIn, John S. Sullivan in Greater Boston. That's the best place for folks here. And check out my profile. Leave me a note if you want. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.